I found these really old miniature models and decided to give them a creepy makeover. A lot of details were added and I painted the smallest zombies I've ever seen. And if you want to see what happens to the once lovely neighborhood, just keep watching. Welcome to the Geeky Workbench. These models were left behind by my late uncle together with some HO scale trains and a mountain cable car set. Most of the things seem to be from the 60s and have been in the cupboard for decades. So with this project I want to bring a few pieces back to life. And I realize zombies are the opposite of life, but they do make a cool diorama. And look at them. Diorama World printed some of their models in HO scale upon request and they turned out great. One house is made of plastic and two are a mix of cardboard and plastic. And they look pretty beat up. So first task is taking everything off that I want to replace or add back later after painting. Things I'm keeping and things I'm tossing. The houses are lightly sanded and ready for masking tape. Once the houses were primed, I sketched out a base. My goal was to represent a residential neighborhood on the smallest base possible. I needed room for the houses, their gardens and front yards, as well as for the road. And still keep it small so I could fill the space with the chaos to come. For the road and sidewalks, I glued cardboard to the XPS foam. The sidewalks were raised a little higher with some thick paper. Then I used 80 and 180 grit sandpaper to give the surfaces some texture. To cover the ground, I mixed up my trusted DIY terrain paste made of sand, white glue, paint and a bit of water. Then it was time to paint the houses. For the roofs I used the airbrush and for everything else I used a regular brush. Then it was time to start working on some of the details, like new doors, the pergola and the benches. To fill the grout lines, I just mixed a whitewash with acrylic paint and used it like a panel liner. The scale is so small that I didn't need a filler for this. And then I added back the gutters. And I know the downpipes are missing. I wanted to make some from styrene and then forgot. So let's just pretend they're there, okay? These street lamps were given to me by a former colleague, and they're from the 90s. They also need a little update. I added some SMD LEDs and I sanded the top to make it a little less ornate. Time to take off the masking tape. The windows of the cardboard houses didn't have any plastic windows, it was just openings backed with a printed piece of paper, so I was nervous if I had accidentally painted onto those. Gladly, everything was fine. Then it was time to work on the road and the pavements. After the primer had dried, I painstakingly marked and cut all the individual pavement stones, which are mostly pretty small here in Germany. After the houses were glued into place, I added some more terrain paste to fill the gaps. It was a little overconfident to not mask off the pavement, so I did that later. For the already existing flower boxes, I made flowers using thin strips of paper to which I glued grass, and onto that I glued flower flock. These HO scale cars already looked pretty good, but I felt they needed a few more details, so I painted on the lights and windscreen wipers. And sadly I forgot to make an after shot, so you'll have to wait until the end to see what the finished cars look like. If you've seen some of my videos, you know I love to add handmade details, a lot. So of course I made a 1/87th scale picket fence from styrene, the thinnest pieces being 0.25 by 0.5 millimeters. I don't regret it, but it was tedious, and I admit I was glad when it was over. For the grass I had to use brown fine turf because I didn't have any in green in the correct scale. And this meant I had to airbrush the turf later. And my first attempt didn't look good, it looked really artificial, so I went over that with a paintbrush to make it a bit more natural looking. Then it was time to add all the details and pieces I had prepared before. Oh, and also the greenery, especially important is the properly trimmed German hedge. You'll see. Because zombies are only scary if there are people around that aren't zombies, yet I bought this little set of joggers. Their poses were just perfect for the scene. I painted their outfits to make them look less like sportswear and more like everyday clothes. The zombies were very detailed, and I tried to paint as much of that as I could see with my magnifying glasses. The last step was to add the lamps and install the battery pack. It was a late summer afternoon, and there was a light breeze in the air. The residents of Goethestraße were either on their way home after work or grocery shopping for the weekend. None of them were aware of the outbreak that had occurred that day at the nearby research facility. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you again in the next one. Bye!